Hello, welcome back. It's almost 5 p.m. Let's read some more. Have to close the curtains. And cola. Let's get a bit cola and chips. There's a little bit barbecue chips left there. Need my bowl, small plastic bowl. But this is not the English vlog. It's just a video I'm reading on Wikipedia. Little barbecue chips left. Got it very cheap, like $1.20. Some kind of barbecue chips. Let's go reading. I have to look my cell phone. Yes, no message. So let's read. I will make a bit noise, few minutes, because I'm going to eat my barbecue chips.
History of Israel, 1948 present. Extended protected article. In 1948, following the 1947-1948 civil war in Mandatory Palestine, the declaration of the establishment of State of Israel sparked the 1948 Arab-Israeli War, which resulted in the 1948 Palestinian expulsion and flight from the land that the State of Israel came to control, and subsequently led to waves of Jewish immigration from other parts of the Middle East. The latter half of the 20th century saw a series of further conflicts between Israel and its neighboring Arab nations. In 1967, the Six-Day War erupted. In its aftermath, Israel captured and occupied the Golan Heights from Syria, the West Bank from Jordan, and the Gaza Strip and the Sinai Peninsula from Egypt. In 1973, the Yom Kippur War began with an attack by Egypt on the Israeli-occupied Sinai Peninsula. In 1979, the Egypt-Israel peace treaty was signed, based on the Camp David Accords. In 1993, Israel signed the Oslo I Accord with the Palestine Liberation Organization, which was followed by the establishment of the Palestinian National Authority. In 1994, the Israel-Jordan peace treaty was signed. Despite efforts to finalize the peace agreement, the conflict continues to play a major role in Israeli and international political, social, and economic life. Declaration of Independence. With the British Mandate of Palestine scheduled to come to an end on the 15th of May, 1948, the governing body of Jewish community, the Jewish National Council, JNC, on the 2nd of March, 1948 began work on the organization of a Jewish provisional government. 1. On the 12th of April, 1948 it formed the Minhelet Haram, Hebrew, lit. People's Administration, all of its members being drawn from Moaset Haram. People's Council, the temporary legislative body set up at the same time. On the 14th of May, 1948, the day the last British forces left Haifa, the People's Council gathered at the Tel Aviv Museum and proclaimed the establishment of a Jewish state in Eretz Israel to serve as the homeland for the Jewish people, to be known as the State of Israel. 2. The meeting was led by David Ben-Gurion, the executive head of the World Zionist Organization, 3. Chairman of the Jewish Agency for Palestine, and soon to be first Prime Minister of Israel. 4. The event is celebrated annually in Israel as Independence Day, a national holiday on 5 Iyar of every year according to the Hebrew calendar. After the declaration, Minhelet Haram became the Provisional Government of Israel, whilst Moaset Haram became the Provisional State Council. Paragraph 13 of the declaration provides that the State of Israel would be based on freedom, justice and peace as envisaged by the prophets of Israel. It will ensure complete equality of social and political rights to its inhabitants irrespective of religion, race or sex. 5. However, the Nasiq maintains that the declaration is neither a law nor an ordinary legal document. 6. The Supreme Court has ruled that the guarantees were merely guiding principles, and that the declaration is not a constitutional law making a practical ruling on the upholding or nullification of various ordinances and statutes. 7. The Arab-Israeli War. Abraham Aden raising the ink flag marking the end of 1948 Arab-Israeli War immediately following the declaration of the new state. Both superpower leaders, U.S. President Harry S. Truman and Soviet leader Joseph Stalin recognized the new state. 8. The Arab League members Egypt, Transjordan, Syria, Lebanon and Iraq refused to accept the UN partition plan and proclaimed the right of self-determination for the Arabs across the whole of Palestine. The Arab states marched their forces into what had until the previous day been the British Mandate for Palestine, starting the First Arab-Israeli War. The Arab states had heavy military equipment at their disposal and were initially on the offensive. The Jewish forces were not a state before the 15th of May and could not buy heavy arms. On the 29th of May, 1948, the British initiated United Nations Security Council Resolution 50 declaring an arms embargo on the region. Czechoslovakia violated the resolution supplying the Jewish state with critical military hardware to match the, mainly British, heavy equipment and planes already owned by the invading Arab states. 9. On the 11th of June a month-long UN truce came into effect. Following independence the Haganah became the Israel Defense Forces, IDF. The Palmach, Etzel and Lehi were required to cease independent operations and join the IDF. During the ceasefire, Excel attempted to bring in a private arms shipment aboard a ship called Al-Talana. When they refused to hand the arms to the government, Ben-Gurion ordered that the ship be sunk. Several Excel members were killed in the fighting. Large numbers of Jewish immigrants, many of them World War II veterans and Holocaust survivors, now began arriving in the new state of Israel, and many joined the IDF. 10. After an initial loss of territory by the Jewish state and its occupation by the Arab armies, from July the tide gradually turned in the Israelis' favor and they pushed the Arab armies out and conquered some of the territory that had been included in the proposed Arab state. At the end of November, tenuous local ceasefires were arranged between the Israelis, Syrians, and Lebanese. On the 1st of December, King Abdullah announced the union of Transjordan with Arab Palestine west of the Jordan. Only Britain recognized the annexation. Armistice agreements. Israel signed armistices with Egypt, the 24th of February, Lebanon, the 23rd of March, Jordan, the 3rd of April, and Syria, 20 July. No actual peace agreements were signed. With permanent ceasefire coming into effect, Israel's new borders, later known as the Green Line, were established. These borders were not recognized by the Arab states as international boundaries. 11. Israel was in control of the Galilee, Jibril Valley, West Jerusalem, the Khalisal Plain and the Negev. The Syrians remained in control of a strip of territory along the Sea of Galilee originally allocated to the Jewish state. The Lebanese occupied a tiny area at Rosh Hanekra, and the Egyptians retained the Gaza Strip and still had some forces surrounded inside Israeli territory. Jordanian forces remained in the West Bank, where the British had stationed them before the war. Jordan annexed Tyre as it occupied, while Egypt kept Gaza as an occupied zone. 1949 Green Line. Following the ceasefire declaration, Britain released over 2,000 Jewish detainees it was still holding in Cyprus and recognized the State of Israel. On the 11th of May, 1949, Israel was admitted as a member of the United Nations. 12. Out of an Israeli population of 650,000, some 6,000 men and women were killed in the fighting, including 4,000 soldiers in the IDF, approximately 1% of the population. Palestinian expulsion and flight. According to United Nations figures, 726,000 Palestinians had fled or were expelled by the Israelis between 1947 and 1949. 13. The precise number of refugees, many of whom settled in refugee camps in neighboring states, is a matter of dispute. 14. But around 80% of the Arab inhabitants of what became Israel, half of the Arab total of mandatory Palestine, left or were expelled from their homes. 15. 16. Later, a series of laws passed by the first Israeli government prevented Arabs who had left from returning to the homes or claiming their property. They and many of their descendants remain refugees. 17. 18. Except in Jordan, the Palestinian refugees were settled in large refugee camps in poor, overcrowded conditions and denied citizenship by their host countries. In December 1949, the UN, in response to a British proposal, established an agency, UNRWA, to provide aid to the Palestinian refugees. It became the largest single UN agency and is the only UN agency that serves a single people. Establishment years. A 120-seat parliament, the Knesset, met first in Tel Aviv, then moved to Jerusalem after the 1949 ceasefire. In January 1949, Israel held its first elections. The Socialist Zionist parties Maipai and Maipam won the most seats, 46 and 19 respectively. Maipai's leader David Ben-Gurion was appointed prime minister, and formed a coalition that did not include Maipam, who were Stalinist and loyal to the USSR. Another Stalinist party, non-Zionist Mackey, won 4 seats. This was a significant decision because it signaled that Israel would not be in the Soviet bloc. The Knesset elected Chaim Weizmann as the first, largely ceremonial, president of Israel. Hebrew and Arabic were made the official languages of the new state. All governments have been coalitions. No party has ever won a majority in the Knesset. From 1948 until 1977, all governments were ruled by Mapai and the Alignment, predecessors of the Labour Party. In those years, Labour Zionists, initialized by David Ben-Gurion,